Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a horror film, The Exorcism of God. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. During one stormy night in the year 2003, a Catholic priest, Peter, and his friend Dr. rush together to a woman, Magali, who is possessed by Balban, a powerful demon. Peter needs to perform an exorcism on her immediately to save her life. He soon arrives in the house, and the possessed Magali welcomes her with a tongue play. Balban then, using her body, unleashes a demonic force around the house, making figures of faces show around the wall. The doctor, who checks her vital signs, declares that her heart might be unable to survive the possession. So Peter asks for permission from the exorcism expert, called Priest Expert for short, who currently resides in London. He denies Peter's request, since he will soon arrive to perform the exorcism. Priest Expert says Peter is not yet experienced enough, and Balban might take advantage of his sins and weakness. Priest Expert then forbids Peter to perform the exorcism, but Peter believes in his faith in God, and decides to exorcise Magali, since her body might not survive the possession, which can lead to her death. He then comes inside Magali's room, and sets up the camera to document the exorcism. As Peter continues to bravely utter the prayer, Balban begins seducing him, using Magali's sexy body. Peter fails to resist the temptation, and secretly glances at Magali's hormone mountains. Balban releases a demonic scream, and continues to seduce Peter, while he is declaring the prayer. In a few moments, Balban seems to leave Magali's body, and Peter checks her. Magali's hand suddenly moves, letting him touch her body. Peter gives up on the tempting sin, and ends up performing a forbidden tongue massage to her. This allows Balban to enter his body, possessing him. The possessed Peter then ends up sexually abusing the unconscious Magali. Soon after, Magali's family enters the room, and finds her free from the possession. 18 years later, a dumb prison guard puts food in a heavily secured jail, and his hand ends up being eaten by the prisoner. Meanwhile, the town people and the church officials deemed Peter's exorcism as a miraculous event. They believed that he was able to defeat Balban, making them consider Peter as a saint. Peter continues to serve in the orphanage and in the town, allowing him to form a close emotional bond with the orphanage kids and town people. Despite that, Peter's guilt continues to haunt him until that point. One day, a mother asks for his help because her child is sick. Peter then checks the child and brings it to the town hospital. The doctor believes that the child might be suffering from the unknown virus plaguing the town. Unfortunately, the town hospital lacks the resources to deal with the suspected virus patients. After Peter performs a mass, the doctor reports to him that 4 children died from an unknown condition. It turns out the doctor knows about Peter's sinful act to Magali during the exorcism ritual. So Peter says to the doctor that the children's death feels like a punishment from God due to his sinful act. He reveals God has not forgiven him yet. He already confessed to another priest, but he has not served his penance yet, which requires him to confess to the bishop. Upon hearing this, the doctor says it is not the best decision for Peter, since the church would excommunicate him, and he will be barred from serving the orphanage. But Peter already decides to do his penance, thinking that his sins might be causing the sufferings of the children. Peter then drives to the city, where he finally meets the bishop. He is about to confess his sin, and hands over the footage tape of the exorcism ritual to the bishop. But the bishop says the Vatican recognizes the success of his exorcism and his good act, so it approves his request for humanitarian aid. Therefore, he changes his mind to confess the sin, since it will cause big money from the aid to be forfeited. Thinking that the poor town needs the money, and it would allow him to help more people, he just chooses to silently accept it. Peter soon comes back to the town, with the medical supplies and equipment he got from the humanitarian aid. The town people happily celebrate it. At night, Peter declares prayer, repeatedly confessing his sin to God. Just then, he hears a scream outside his room in the church. Upon checking it, he finds the statue of Jesus missing from the Holy Cross. He also accidentally steps on a large amount of blood on the floor, allowing him to notice a trail of blood. He then follows the trail of blood, and finds a naked man in the end. The naked man instantly reveals his face, and it turns out that the naked man is the possessed Jesus. Peter falls to the ground due to the shock. In a few moments, the possessed Jesus suddenly reappears behind him. He then wakes up, and it turns out that he is only having a nightmare. After waking up, he receives a call from the warden, asking for his help. Apparently, the prisoner who bit the guard earlier is possessed and looking for Peter to perform the exorcism. The following day, Peter comes to prison, and listens to the information about the prisoner. The prisoner is revealed to be a young girl, who's guilty of murdering a man in a gruesome fashion when she is possessed. Peter then comes to visit her in the secured jail. There, Peter finds out that Balban is the one who possessed the young girl. Balban threatens the orphanage children and mocks Peter for his sinful act, leaving him disturbed. After checking her, Peter and the guards walk out of jail, and they hear a demonic scream, causing them to suffer in pain. After that, Peter tells the warden that he does not want to perform the exorcism, because he already swore that Magali's exorcism would be his last. But it turns out that Magali is the young girl's mother. Magali comes in and pleads to him, revealing that the girl is Peter's daughter. After a long time, Peter and Magali have a conversation again. She reveals that Balban never left, and only got transferred to their daughter, who is a fruit of Peter's sinful act. Magali then shows him the daughter's photo, and urges Peter to save her. At night, the possessed Jesus shows itself again to Peter in his sleep. It emerges beside him, and suddenly reappears in front of him to attack him. Peter then wakes up, and realizes he is having a nightmare again. Morning comes, the kid rescued earlier dies. The doctor is still baffled about the cause of the death of the children in their town. Peter consoles the mother, but the grieving mother declares that God does not exist. Later at night, Magali visits the orphanage and sees Peter taking care of the children. It turns out Magali is a former nun in the orphanage. She then remembers those times when she worked with Peter. The following day, Peter comes to the bishop, asking his permission to perform the exorcism of the young girl possessed by Balban. The bishop immediately approves his request, saying he will take care of the Vatican's approval. Peter then requests that he wants to perform the exorcism with priest expert, who managed to defeat Balban years ago. Priest expert soon arrives, and Peter welcomes him. Priest expert praises Peter for defeating Balban, believing that he is successful in the exorcism. In response, Peter reveals he did not defeat Balban, but Balban just left voluntarily. Priest expert replies it is impossible, since Balban only leaves his victim's body after taking its soul. Night comes, Peter burns the footage tape of the exorcism of Magali, hoping he would finally forget it. Priest expert approaches him, asking him why he cannot sleep. He then reveals his nightmares about the possessed Jesus. Priest expert shares that implies Balban is trying to possess him, with a purpose in mind. Apparently, Balban attempted to possess Jesus, but failed to do so. Priest expert says that Peter needs to be cleansed from sins tomorrow, so they can successfully defeat Balban. Meanwhile, inside the orphanage, the demon attacks the praying nun. She finds a creepy baby on the ground, and the possessed Mary shows itself behind her. In a few moments, she gets possessed by the demon, and begins to scare the orphanage children. Peter and priest expert hear the commotion, and they immediately respond. They perform an exorcism on the nun, and the demon is banished. Peter consoles the frightened children, and he finds that they are sick. The following day, Peter and priest expert visit the Balban-possessed girl in jail. There, Balban reveals that he is responsible for the children's sickness. He then threatens to kill the children and take them to hell, making Peter angry. Priest expert calms him down, and proceeds to mock Balban as a weak demon. Balban then shows his power by locking the door, and puking the guard's finger at him. Balban gets angry, and stuns priest expert, making him unable to move. Peter and priest expert declare a prayer, making Balban release a demonic scream. The demons also possess the other prisoners, and scream with Balban. In a few moments, Balban rises and eats priest expert's ear. The doctor then interferes, and puts him to sleep. After that, they have a meeting about their plans to exorcise Balban out of the girl. Peter suggests removing the other prisoners from the prison, but the warden refuses. So the doctor just puts the other prisoners to sleep. Unfortunately, a prisoner manages to steal the jail key from the guard. Meanwhile, priest expert tells Peter to never believe the words of Balban, since he thrives from deceit. Priest expert also warns Peter to never make a deal with Balban, because he always wins. Priest expert sprays holy water mist in the prison, which would prevent Balban from flying away. Apparently, he uses techniques outside of the traditional ritual, approved by the Vatican. He points out that the Vatican never improves the exorcism ritual, and he speculates that demons might be among the Vatican's officials. Priest expert then suggests to Peter to be on his own, and believe he is God himself during the exorcism to defeat Balban. Later, Peter talks to Magali outside the prison, and admits his fault to her. But Magali believes that the event is a miraculous blessing in disguise, since Peter's sinful act allows her to give birth to the girl. Magali then urges Peter to save her. The warden comes out, declaring that the prison is secured, signaling Peter can begin their exorcism. Later they prepare for the ritual. They are left alone with the possessed girl and other prisoners in prison. The lights suddenly turn off, leaving them walking in the dark. Peter and priest expert come to the secure jail to find the possessed girl. There, they find the children's names written on the wall, which seems to be Balban's target. Meanwhile, the doctor comes to check the prisoners and finds the guard already dead. He then attempts to put the possessed prisoner to sleep, but another possessed prisoner appears, stabbing him. Peter and priest expert hear the commotion and come to the doctor. The injured doctor tells them to run. Just then, the possessed prisoners appear in front of them. Peter declares a prayer to the possessed prisoner with a knife, but it fails to work. As it is about to attack him, the doctor pushes it away. It then stabs the doctor to death. Meanwhile, the nun, who turns out to be possessed by Balban, appears in front of priest expert. He tries to declare the prayer, but Balban just burns his cross. In response, Peter and priest expert run away from him. A possessed prisoner suddenly stabs priest expert, but he manages to stab it back and continues to run away, while the possessed prisoner keeps chasing them. The two hide in a kitchen room and lock the door. There, the severely injured priest expert confronts Peter, since his prayer did not work earlier. He thinks that Peter is carrying a sin. Peter then reveals about his sinful act on Magali's exorcism, and that the girl is its fruit. At this point, Peter no longer has the power to defeat Balban. Unfortunately, priest expert also lost his power over Balban because he also made a deal with him. It's revealed that priest expert sold his soul to Balban in order to save the possessed child's life, so he will end up in hell after his death. He then warns Peter to never make a deal with Balban. The possessed prisoners manage to penetrate the kitchen room. Priest expert accepts his demise from the demons and lets Peter escape to the secured room. There, Peter records his confession about the sinful act he committed and sends it to the bishop using the phone. After that, Peter regains his power from God and proceeds to confront the possessed prisoners. At that moment, the possessed Jesus carrying the cross appears and suddenly approaches him. In response, he declares a prayer, causing them to scream in agony. Unfortunately, a possessed prisoner attacks him from behind, putting him to sleep. Soon after, he wakes up completely tied up, and Balban is preparing a ritual with the other demons. They are about to exorcise God out of Peter's body, so Balban can enter his body. Balban and the other demons begin uttering a demonic prayer, causing Peter to suffer from agony. During that time, the children in the hospital begin convulsing. The possessed Mary reveals itself to the orphanage and proceeds to attack her, making her scream in pain. Back to the prison, Peter decisively declares a prayer, causing a powerful force to enter the room. In response, Balban unleashes his force. At that moment, his demonic force clashes with a heavenly power coming from Peter's prayer. In the end, the heavenly force overpowers Balban. Peter then declares a prayer to finally expel Balban from the girl's body. Balban says if Peter expels him, he will bring Peter's orphanage children to hell. Balban offers Peter to make a deal with him. This puts Peter into a dilemma, since Balban holds his daughter and the lives of orphanage children. Left with no choice, Peter decides to make a deal with Balban. He then let God exit his body, in exchange for the safety of his daughter and the lives of the orphanage children. As the deal is made, Balban exits the girl's body, and the children get healed from the sickness. The movie ends where Peter comes back to his duty as a priest and leads the Mass in the church. He preaches good teachings in the Mass, while keeping his deal with the devil a secret. Magali and her daughter come to listen to his sermon. After the Mass, the media interviews Peter, indicating that he becomes famous after saving the children's lives. The bishop tells Peter the video of his confession is already deleted, and the church offers him a position in the Vatican. Right then, the daughter suddenly holds Peter's hand, causing him to suffer in pain. She asks Peter to bless her, which he gladly obliges. After that, Peter looks intently at the bishop, making the bishop worship him. It is then revealed that Balban is now inside Peter's body, and the bishop becomes his follower. He is also aware that his daughter has become God's chosen one, so he plans to get rid of her in the future. In the end, Balban inside Peter's body arrives in the Vatican as an officer, declaring that the sinner would inherit the earth rather than the kingdom of God. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.